Hi guys, my name is Kendra and I'm going to be starting a new series because I am rereading all the Sarah J Maas books in order for CC3. I am so excited, and if you are here watching this video, I'm just going to assume that you have read these books because I feel like you have to, if you're here, you've read the books, right? So I'm not going to do a full summary of the books. I'm not going to go into a full detail about each book. I just have a long list of thoughts and rants and raves and questions. More questions than anything. So we're going to start off with the first book, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I do have a couple versions of this book. I did first originally buy the one with the beast form on it, the wolf and the arrow, and then I bought the Kindle version and I read that, and then I went on the hunt for the OG covers. I do have all the OG covers in hardback except this one. This one is still paperback. I'm on the hunt for that. We'll get it eventually. We're gonna get there. Because my theory is, once the Hulu show comes out, everyone's gonna be in love with these books and they're gonna want all the OG covers. So I'm trying to get OG covers now before I have to fight hordes of girls who are in love with Tamlin, which we're gonna talk so much about. Okay, let me get my notes. So I started my reread of all the Sarah J Maas books when CC3 got announced, the title and the release date, which is January 30th, 2024 for The House of Shadow and Flame. I did reread all of The Throne of Glass, and I just finished the first ACOTAR. But when I read books, I usually read books on my Kindle, and I have a Google Doc where I put down all my thoughts and first reactions and like, what is this? And a lot of questions. And usually if my review or my Google Doc page for a book is short, that means I really liked it. I didn't have a lot of like what moments or like stuff like that. If my reaction Google sheet is long, it probably means I had a lot of what the fuck moments or questions or plot holes that I found. So I do have a full long Throne of Glass Google Doc. I do want to do videos of it. It's just I have a very unpopular opinion about Throne of Glass. Like a lot. Like I can guarantee you we're not like whoever you love I probably don't love, and who you don't love I probably love. One of them being Chaol. So I'm a Chaol stan. Towards the end, I understand the first 5 books unbearable, but once he got with his wife, I love them. I love them so much. They're probably my favorite couple in that universe. I love them. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about ACOTAR. So I'll show you some of my notes. This is all the first ACOTAR. Another thing I do when I reread Sarah J Maas books is I notice she reuses a lot of the similar words. And so I keep a tally or a number count of how many times she reuses certain words or phrases. A great idea is, I shuddered at the thought. A shudder ran down my spine. Like that's a point for shudder, shuddering, or shudder. I also have like, chill ran down my spine. That's another one. Anything running down a spine, that's the point. Also picks at nails, hands, and every time Rhys puts his hand in his pockets, every time he picks off a piece of lint. I keep count of all of that. I have probably about 10 to 12 phases, and probably each book I'm like, oh, that's another one she keeps using a lot. So I make a side thing. So I'll give you some totals at the end to let you know how many of the words she has reused. And trust me, it's a lot for someone. It's a lot. My first big thing when I first reread the first book was, why didn't Elain make a vegetable garden? If this girl loves to be making flowers, how come Feyre's not buying her seeds for a vegetable garden? And you don't even need seeds from some vegetables. You can use scraps to make vegetable gardens. And I don't understand how they were like practically they lost their money. She said for 8 years, but around like year 3 or 4, she had to go hunting because they ran out of money. How the fuck come Elain isn't making vegetable gardens? Feyre's like, I bought her flower seeds as like a gift. Why weren't we buying vegetable seeds? Why weren't we harvesting wild things and planting them? Like that never made sense to me, because you're starving. It's free. Your sister likes to garden. Here's some carrot scraps. Here's a chunk of potato. Potatoes are the easiest thing to grow. And that's why I was really confused when I'm reading this, like, why is she always doing flowers? Why is she not doing vegetables? Do some corn, do some garlic, girl, do something. That's just me again. That's just me. Also, why weren't the older sisters helping? Let me explain. I know they can't hunt. I know they can't because they're women probably. Well, this is Sarah J. Maas Universe. She could probably get some bigger jobs. And I know that they were because they were rich and they didn't probably have a lot of trade, but they can still wash dishes. They can still wash clothes. They can learn how to sew. And I know that they live in a village, but there has to be some odd jobs for girls to wash clothes or help repair clothes or wash dishes at a diner or a bakery. Like, there was something they could have done. And Feyre even asked Nesta, you were always after my money. And she's like, oh, it's because I knew you were going to get more. I always knew you were going to get more. I just want to see if father was going to ever go out and do something. Why didn't you go out and do something? Why are we relying on literally minors, not even minors, children to take care of you? She's like, I always knew you were going to get more. What the fuck are you talking about? You're the eldest. Why the fuck are we outside doing something about it? And even Elaine didn't do shit. Everyone's like, oh, Elaine is so sweet. Oh, she's a delicate flower. Apparently she don't want to ruin her hands either. She can go to chop. Any one of them could have chopped wood. Any one of them could have gone out and like, can I babysit people's kids for daycare. There could have been so many things they could have done, but they chose not to. And it brings so much rage as an older sister and a mother myself, that these girls like, I'm just gonna rely on a child to do all these things. Like, I can't. Feyre's mom is dying of a sickness, and she later says it's typhus. But the weird thing about her mom dying is on her deathbed, she makes Feyre, who is 8 and illiterate, can't forget the illiterate part, she says, her mom makes her promise to take care of the family. Not her oldest daughter, who's probably 16. Not her husband, who I think still had money at the time. She made the youngest girl do it. And she died, and they said it was typhus. But there's a theory, and I love this theory, and I kind of want it to be true, that Feyre's mom made a deal with a fairy, and she didn't fulfill her end of the bargain, and she died. It's in the second book, when Feyre and Tamlin are trying to find a way out of Rhysand's deal. Lucien mentions you can't break deals, you can't break bargains because it's tied by magic, and if you don't fulfill your end of the bargain, the magic will have massive repercussions. And I love the theory that Feyre's mom was either Fae or made a deal with the Fae somehow, and she didn't fulfill her bargain and she just got sick and died. I think that's a great theory. Could it happen? I don't know, but I would love to see that actually happen because it makes sense. She kind of just dies. You don't get much of a backstory. We don't see much of anything. We just hear it's typhus, but I like the idea. I think it'd be cool. So in ACOTAR, the first one, Feyre kills a fairy and Tamlin comes in his beast form and tells her you broke the treaty. And so now you have to come live on my lands or I can kill you. It's take a life for a life, which is okay, whatever. Not once did she ask someone to look at the treaty. Yes, I know she's illiterate, 100%. But not once did she ask someone, hey, can you read me what it actually says, like word for word? Or even try to learn how to read on the behalf of learning what the treaty says. She's just taking everyone's word that that's what the treaty says. She's not asking anyone. That would be a reason for me to learn how to read, is learn the exact wording, because she talks about fairies are notorious with their words. You have to, when you make bargains with them, you have to find every loophole before you set a bargain with them. So why wasn't she trying to find a way to read or have someone she trusts read the treaty? Like Alice or even the Sorrel. I don't understand why she didn't ask them like, hey, how are you? So Sorrel knows everything. I'd be like, what is the full treaty? Word for word, tell me the article that I broke so I can find a way, or we can find a way out of it. Right? Are y'all on the same wavelength right now? That's what I would have done. Another thing is Feyre not once asked Tamlin what his title is. She knows he's High Fae nobility and that he's High Fae. That's all she knows. But she won't point blank ask him, oh, are you a lord? Or are you a high lord? For 2 fucking weeks, she's lived with this man and hasn't asked him anything, hasn't even asked Lucien, hey, what the hell is this man's title? Nothing. She hasn't said nothing. And I understand that they maybe wouldn't have answered her outright, but she didn't even try. Most of the time, she just wants to live in ignorant bliss of what's going on and doesn't ask important questions. She only starts asking questions when she meets Rhys. And she even says in the book, the part of me that wants to stay meek and quiet and mute around Tamlin and Lucien is not there when she's with Rhys, because she's like, fuck this, fuck you, what's going on? She's more assertive with Rhys, and I love that. But she even says, like with Tamlin and Lucien, I need to be quiet and just go with the flow. Not in this house. We don't do that in this house. I don't know who raised y'all, but we ain't doing that in the how is she not wanting to know her surroundings? She keeps looking for exits. That's another thing. That's another thing. Tamlin asked her 2 separate times, can I give you the tour of the grounds? Can I give you the tour of the house? And every time she said no, but she wants to mark every exit in a window and where the weapons room are and any little corner she can hide in. Why wouldn't she take Tamlin up on his tour? He's literally going to show you the house you're supposed to spend eternity with, and he's going to show you all the things, especially if he lived there his entire life. He knows that house better than anyone. Why wouldn't you take him on? Why wouldn't you take him on his offer for a tour? He would show you, oh, this is that, he probably wouldn't say, oh, this is the place I used to sneak off to when I was young. But still, you can find things like that. And she's like, no, I'd rather go talk to Lucien, who calls me an ignorant, insignificant human. I'd rather go hang out with him. Okay, sure. When I first read the first book of the series, I was not at Tamlin. I don't understand why some of these girls thought Tamlin was great. I never got it. I don't understand it. I was always like, why are we talking to Lucien? He's right there. He is right there. I understand he ain't a High Lord. I understand he's got one eye. I would still take Lucien. 100%. I don't even have to know that Tamlin was a terrible person. I'm talking about book 1 Tamlin, not talking about book 2 Tamlin. That's a whole other thing. Book 1 Tamlin is terrible. He is popping his talons out left and right over the smallest inconvenience. He's growling at Lucien, even though Lucien has a terrible backstory, and he's still growling at him. He's popping talons. He's telling people, you better obey me, stay in the house, obey me, don't disobey me again. Fuck you. Why? I don't understand how she fell in love with him. I get it. He's hot. That's great. He's another hot blonde. Oh my gosh, he is hot. He has so much anger problems. So much anger problems, to the point where she's like, oh, if Tamlin finds out about this, he's going to set his jaw hard and put his lips in a thin line. And it's just like, then why are we with him? If you're telling me these are all red flags, how would you want to be with a partner that's constantly getting so mad that his animal form is taking over? It's taking over. And then book 2, he throws a fucking desk at her. But he's the one. That's my man. That's the one. Anyway, I can't fucking stand Tamlin. Another thing that always confused me is Tamlin told her he loved her twice. He told her he loved her twice. The first time she said she was like on the verge of falling asleep, so she could have just like not heard things right. Fine. The second time was point blank, I love you. And she's like, I can't tell him I love him back because it would be a burden to know I loved him when he's sending me away. Wouldn't it be a bigger burden to know if she loved you back? It would be a bigger burden to me for me to say I love you to someone and they left and be like, do they care? Do they love me too? Have I just been a free meal ticket? Like, I want to know. To me, that'd be a bigger burden than knowing, oh, the woman I love and she loves me too is off living her best life, and not like, did I not mean anything to this broad? That doesn't comprehend to me. So we find out how Lucien loses his eye. The way he loses his eye is, I call her Amantha. I know her name is like Armanthara. I don't care. It's Amantha. Don't put extra R's and L's in this fucking name. It's Amantha. So she wants Tamlin hard, and she is pining and lusting over this man so hard. And so instead of just being incredibly like, no, fuck you, very loud and clearly, he sends Lucien. And Lucien, she gets so mad that Lucien comes over that she scratches his fucking face, plucks his eyes out with her fingernails. I don't know what she did with the eye. I don't need to know what she did with the eye. But it's all because of Tamlin, because he just won't point blank, fuck you, stop calling, change the number, block this number. He wouldn't like actually stand up and just like stop. And that's one of the problems I have with Tamlin, is he also knows about how Lucien's lost his lover, how his dad's horrible, and he still treats Lucien like garbage. He's growling at him constantly and telling him to like, mind your own business, calm down. It's like, why would you want to be with someone like that? We also find out about the curse that has plagued Tamlin while he wears a mask, and the lands and blah, 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 all that stuff. Again, I'm assuming you guys read the book. If you're here. if you're here, I'm assuming you read the book. Right after Lucien loses his eye, goes to Tamlin. Amanda was like, you know what? I should have a party to make amends with Lucien, and we can honor Tamlin's shape-shifting abilities. That made no fucking sense. It wasn't like a new talent he had, but they're gonna throw a party in that. But anyways, for her to make amends with Lucien. And you know what Tamlin did? Made the motherfucker go to the woman that popped his eye out. That's why I know, and when Feyre's being told this, she's not understanding Tamlin's a terrible fucking person. Because if I got my eye ripped out and someone's like, you gotta go, you know, this girl, she wants to say sorry. I don't give a fuck what she wants to do. I'm not going there. And you have to play nice around her? I'm not doing that. Why would we even want to play nice? Why wouldn't Tamlin be like, no, I'm not going to this? You should come, no, I don't want to. I've had shape-shifting abilities for 500 years. Why are we just now celebrating it? That is, the premise of this whole party was dumb. And no wonder that Amantha was able to steal everyone's powers, because they're stupid. They're fucking stupid. Why have a party for a guy who's had shape-shifting abilities for hundreds of years? I'm glad he got his powers taken, because he's a fucking idiot. Alice had told Feyre that the curse was Tamlin had to find a girl that had enough hate in her heart to kill a fairy, and then take that girl and make her fall in love with him or a fairy. And I think it's him. I could be wrong. I think it's him. So a girl to hate a fairy so much to turn around and then love a fairy. Here's the thing. When Alice first said like the full thing, I instantly in my mind went, oh my gosh, he's been faking it this whole time. He doesn't actually love her. He just wants her to fall in love and say this, and then the curse is broken, was my first thought. And Feyre, who apparently is so smart and can see the double meaning and read between the lines and can figure out puzzles, can't figure, like, that wasn't her first thing, because that's what exactly what I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's all been a lie. He doesn't actually love me. He's trying to break the curse. He doesn't care about me. I don't understand how that was not her first thought. That was my first thought when I read the book. I went, oh shit, it's all fake. Let him rot under that mountain. I don't care. But then you find out that Tamlin doesn't do a damn thing. Amantha steals Tamlin's powers, and she's like, all you gotta do is come be with me. Come be with me and I'll make everything better. And he refuses to touch her, refuses to do anything with her. He could have been with her and killed her. Like, he could have, like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But he was only thinking of himself, because he didn't want to lay down. Do you think Rhys wanted to lay down with that swamp witch? No. But he did it to protect the people he loved in his entire fucking territory. Tamlin couldn't stomach it for a little bit to save his territory, his house, his lands, Lucien himself, anyone else. He didn't care about that. He'd rather fucking damn the entire country than actually marry her, be with her, and like find a way to poison her food. Slip her some ash. Slit her throat while she sleeps. There are so many ways we could have gone about this. But he's just like, no, I'm gonna be stubborn and have pride. Okay. Look how well that got you, my man. Look how well that happened for you. So before the second book, before Rhys declares his love for Feyre and he explained like how they met and his visions of him, he talks about how when they're under the mountain, Tamlin finds one opportunity. Apparently that's anyway, we'll get to that in a second. He takes this one opportunity to not help Feyre escape, but to pound her against a wall. He did nothing for 3 months. Tamlin stood there and watched so much stuff, and he didn't try and find a way to send her a message. He didn't try and find a way to tell Lucien to tell her this. He didn't try and find exit routes. And so when I was reading the book where they slip off into a closet or behind the dais, I'm like, this is it. We're finally gonna, and nothing. He pulls down his pants and tries to get at it with her. I'm like, what are we doing? Rhys literally put paint on just for this reason. Just for this reason, to put paint on her body, to know if she's been with someone. And guess what? Now everyone's gonna know that. But that he did not talk to her one time during that meeting until Rhys catches them and he's like, I love you, and then runs out of the room. Not once. He's like, here are the exit plans. Here's the exit route. Her weakness is this. She sleeps during this time. The guard rotation is this. There's an armory over here. There's ash arrows. Like he didn't do anything. He didn't do a fucking thing. He didn't even ask her, are you doing okay? Are they feeding you? Are they beating you daily? What's Rhys doing? Like he didn't ask any of that. He didn't care about any of that. He just wanted to get himself his dick wet. And that's what, I don't understand how Feyre is like, that's my man. I'm gonna marry him. Him and his anger problems. And he does not care about me. How can anyone fall in love with this man? Seriously, everything is red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. And she's like, yep, I'm gonna catch them like a bouquet. Like I don't, I get too worked up because she's supposed to be so smart. And then you get dumb stuff like this. Out of the 3 main series, so Throne of Glass, Court of Thorn and Roses, and Crescent City, Feyre is my least favorite. She has some moments. She's my least favorite of all the girls. It's Aelin or Bryce. Because they're both just badass girls. And I'm not saying because Feyre doesn't have already combative skills or master of her element. It's because she's indecisive as fuck. So indecisive, and she makes some moves and questions that I'm just like, what? How did we get here? What was your thought process to get you to here? I can't be the only one that feels like Feyre's kind of the weakest out of the 3 girls. Feyre's final test, just to give you some background, Feyre's final test is she has to stab 3 fairies in the heart with an ash wood dagger, which kills fairies. Here's the thing. She kills the first person, kills the second person. She's gonna go kill the third person, and apparently if she kills all 3, then she's supposed to be freed. But you find out the third person is Tamlin. And she figures out that Amanthra isn't going to endanger Tamlin because she still wants to be with him. So she knows that there's a way that Tamlin can live from this stabbing. But then she replays all the moments in her head about like, he must have tried to tell me some way. He must have tried to tell me some way because the curse prevents him from talking about the curse and what's going on. And she remembers that there's 2 times that someone has mentioned, you have a heart of stone. And it was one time with Lucien because they kept like his office door open and she heard Lucien say, for someone with a heart of stone, you're getting soft. And she's like, Tamlin must have kept those doors open so I can hear it. Tamlin led the tar out so I can hear what he was going to say. How would he know? She's like, he's prepared me for this moment. For this moment is why he's been trying to tell me these things. How would he know that a Feyre was going to fight? First of all, at this moment in time, he didn't know Feyre was going to fall in love with him. So there's that. He didn't know that he was going to have to send Feyre away. He didn't know that Feyre was going to come back and fight under the mountain. He didn't know about Amanthra's trials and tests because she was going to kill her on the spot. And she goes, I'm feeling generous. I'm going to put you through a trial of tasks. And if you complete them, then you can live with Tamlin. He didn't know any of this. So how was he like giving her clues about like, this is coming up later. You need to know the answer about my heart stone. And obviously it saved him in the end, but it's weird to have foresight like that for something that it's not lined up to be, right? Okay. I don't know why he couldn't say he had a heart of stone, because when she's carrying around knives and trying to snap his neck and punch him, I don't know why he didn't try to tell her that he had a heart of stone, just point blank say it, because there's been times where she's actually tried to kill him or try to kill another fairy. And he could have literally said, none of that's gonna work on me because I have a heart of stone. You can't penetrate my heart. because it's made out of stone. I don't understand why he didn't say that to her, because there's certain times where she had a butter knife, like, that's not going to do you any use. And then she puts a snare up and he's like, that's not going to do anything for me either. Like, that's not going to do any damage to me. He could have said something like, my heart's made of stone, so you're going to have to find a more creative way to kill me. That's how I feel like he could have approached it, but you know, they never explain why he has a heart of stone. Like, why does Rhys also have one? Because they say after she beat Amantha and she came back from the dead, his heart was beating again. Okay, that's fine. She also said that's how Amantha was able to control the lords and their power. So that means Rhys had a heart of stone too, and Winter and Day and all the other courts, so all of their hearts were made out of stone too. That was never explained. Also, when Amantha has Feyre by the throat and she's like, you need to say, confess you don't love him, you're a lying human garbage. Rhysand is in the background fighting. He's trying to get away to get Feyre safe. He's finding swords in the dagger ash and he's fighting. He keeps fighting her and fighting her. Fucking Tamlin's on his knees crying and begging. And I don't understand how Feyre didn't connect that Rhys has been saving her ass for months. He's been saving her ass for months, especially the first trial. He healed her arm. He killed Claire because he knew Feyre was lying about her game, but he still took Claire to protect Feyre, and she's like, you're an enemy because Tamlin says you're my enemy, so you're my enemy, even though you've been taking care of me for 3 months, and she still thinks he's an enemy, and I don't understand that. And I understand he's from the Night Court, and I understand that he's a dark, mysterious bad boy. He has done nothing but prove his loyalty to try and keep her, and she does say, and I will give her points, that she knows that he's trying to keep her, he's keeping her alive for scheming and probably court agendas. So I understand that, but he has countlessly come to her and saved her. Especially on the second trial, he saved her ass so many times. And there's Tamlin on the floor crying like a lost child. And I can't stand this man. Can't stand this man. I cannot stand this man. So when Feyre's dead and all the High Lords come together and they give her the Seed of Life, the High Lord of the Autumn Court is the first person there, which is crazy because he's just garbage the rest of the series. He's the first person to give her a seat. And then when he stands by Lucien, from Feyre's point of view, it said that the High Lord of the Autumn Court is a handsome, brown-haired man with similar features of Lucien, and that Lucien's still at the presence of his father. I'm sure that the identity and Lucien possibly having a different father, biological father, was probably an afterthought after this book, probably when she was structuring out the books to come. But I just thought that was interesting because it makes you think, because when I first read it, I'm like, okay, so the guy in the Autumn Court, he's cool. He offered the first seed. And obviously he's not. Obviously he's down the road, you find out how terrible him and his sons are. Another thing I thought was kind of weird was Feyre showed a lot of remorse and guilt for killing those 2 innocent Fae, but she doesn't really go over how she feels guilty about killing the first Fae she killed, which was the wolf that Tamlin sent over, which was Andreas. She didn't feel any remorse for him. Like later down the road, she's like, yeah, I'm sorry I killed your friend. If I wish I didn't do it. But she's losing her sleep. She's throwing up. She thinks she's lost a part of herself and her soul's fractured because she killed these 2 innocents. And technically, so was Andreas. He didn't provoke her. Because when she was about to kill the 2 Fae, she goes, this isn't defense. This isn't like a panic thing. Like, this is cold-blooded murder. And so was Andreas. I get he was in a wolf form, but he didn't even see her. He didn't do anything to her. It was an unprovoked attack, but she didn't have any remorse or any guilt to the effect of what she's had for these 2 innocent Fae before she had to stab Tamlin. I think that gets overlooked a lot. Overall, I do like the series. Rereading it has pointed out a lot of things. I've been trying to find theories and little seeds that Sarah J. Maas has dropped in here to connect it to CC3 and find if I can find any clues. And I've found some things, but I'm not clever enough, I feel like, to find these long threads that some of these people are making on TikTok about how the worlds are intertwined. I gave this book 4 out of 5 because I know I bitched a lot. You're like, how? This is my first fantasy book. I started reading fantasy 2 years ago. This is my first fantasy book, and I thought this was really good for someone that doesn't know anything about fantasy. This was a slow world building for me to understand fantasy stuff. Like, for example, I didn't know what a siren was. When I think of fairies, you know, you're thinking of pretty much, in my mind, almost pixies. I don't know a lot of At the time I didn't know a lot of fantasy stuff, but this was a good book for me to get into it, and it was something I understood, minus these weird random names. It was something I understood, and the Court of Thorn and Rose series is a good series that slowly world builds and doesn't get too full. I cannot say the same thing about Crescent City, because Crescent City takes a whole world and shoves it down your throat within like the first 100 pages, and you're like, how's anyone supposed to understand that? So that's gonna be a fun reread, but I understand it better now, so maybe I can spot out things I didn't see the first go around. So let's do some word counts. Sarah J. Maas used the word shudder, shuddered, or shuddering 24 times. Shivered or shiver 6 times. Picks nails 6 times. Cursed silently or cursed without people knowing what they said. That's like, I swore, Lucian let out a curse, like that type of thing. That happened 12 times. Could have sworn. That one drives me insane probably the most. I could have sworn I saw his wings. I could have sworn I felt the earth rumble, like that. 19 times. A shiver ran down a spine, or chill ran down a spine. That's another one. Anything that runs down a spine and it's cold is a point, and they said it 8 times. Picks a piece of lint off was 3 times. And surprisingly, Amantha was the one that did it the most. She did 2 out of the 3. So maybe he picked it up from her. And then also the last one I did was Rhysand putting his hands in his pocket. That was 6 times. I feel like that got explained why he puts his hands in his pocket, but it could have been the fanfic I read from his point of view that I remember reading something like that. I feel like that does get explained. Possibly in the second one I'll figure out. We'll definitely have more counts. I know I'm the type where I can notice a pattern, and so I'm just like, we gotta find another word. Let's find another word besides shuddered. I shuddered at the thought. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't rant and rave too much. I know I probably did, but you know, please let me know if you have same ideas. If there's anything I missed, I feel like I did a pretty good combing of this book, but if there's anything else that I missed, please let me know, because I like to rant and rave too. So thanks for stopping by, guys.